Hey folks, this clip is brought to you by the fastest growing sports book in Tennessee, Zen Sports. Enter code A to Z TN, ATOZ TN to earn a welcome bonus that gives you 5% cash back on your total betting volume for your first 15 days of betting. That is Zen Sports. What did happen after the spring game? The portal opened and saw Elijah Herring jump in to the portal. And I will say, you don't want to see guys transfer away, especially when you're closing in on actually starting to get prepared for the season itself. But not a guy that anybody was overly impressed with last year. At the same time, his brother is also on the team, and his brother has a bit of a higher ceiling, we think. What were your thoughts on that one, Zach?
Yeah, it was something that had been rumored a little bit throughout the course of the offseason. He never, he didn't go in the portal right after the season, but that door was never closed. And obviously, he's chosen to walk through it. Definitely not shocking with, he's all the headlines. I mean, I saw one from ESPN. I think even On3 had one, like their national site. It's like Tennessee's leading tackler hits the portal. And that's true. He was the leading tackler last year, but it was kind of by default. With Keenan Peely out, he was forced into action. Aaron Beasley didn't play quite as well last season as he had in 2022. So there was some factors that kind of played into the reason he led the team in tackling. It's not like he had an AJ Johnson type year where he's 140 tackles. It was like 80. It wasn't. And look, we watched Elijah Herring play. He not the fastest guy out there, not very good in coverage. He improved at times, but he still had some missed assignments out there that were frustrating and kind of some big moments. So not a guy with Keenan Peely coming back and some of the talent you have, like Arian Carter, who really seems to be figuring out how to play linebacker. Because that's a guy that wasn't even at Tennessee until last summer. Started playing linebacker at his senior year of high school. Not a lot of experience there. T-Lander, you got a lot of talent there at linebacker, and Herring just wasn't. I mean, he was a backup really without a guaranteed role. Even as a backup, it's not like he was going to be a rotational guy. He was just kind of waiting on somebody to go down. So it makes sense. As for Caleb Herring, it doesn't seem like he's, eager to hit the portal. He's a guy that's Josh Heupel's raved about, this offseason already. He was not dead. It wasn't like he was automatic to Tennessee just because his brother went there anyway during the recruiting process. I don't think that's these go hand in hand type deal. I think, Caleb Herring's going to pave his own way, and Elijah Herring's going to try to go somewhere outside of the SEC and pave his own way as well.
Caleb did tweet about it. If I did, I think I saw that and said something like, "You're in God's hands."
Yeah.
Just kind of innocuous. Didn't say a lot about it. I would say I'm not overly worried about that situation because exactly what you said. The playing time looked like it had probably taken its course for Elijah Herring with just the way things were shaping back up with Peely coming back. So,
and honestly, if you're Caleb Herring, you're a sophomore, and you're going to get probably some decent time in that rotation to D end, and you're going to be playing on the opposite side of James Pierce. That's a huge opportunity that only one team in the country can provide at this moment. As far as somebody as talented as Pierce, you don't walk away from that.
Definitely. No doubt about that. Jason does bring up in the comments. He said, I'm a little worried about our running game. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of starters were out, but still expecting a drop off from last year. Yeah, they didn't look amazing in that spring game.
Kind of like, which narrative do you want to go with there? Is the run game bad? Is the defensive line just awesome? I mean, we have heard a lot about this defensive line. I do think they're really, really good. They were really good last year. They should only be better this year. But at the same time, Tennessee, Jalen Wright's probably going to be like a third or fourth round pick at this point. I mean, he's being mocked in the third round in a lot of the latest mock drafts. I saw one yesterday from ESPN. Jabari Small wasn't as electric as Jalen Wright or Dylan Sampson. Really good player, great in pass protection, was slippery, could pick up chunk yardage at times too. He just didn't have that real 50, 60, 70-yard breakaway speed. Those are pretty talented players to lose, and you don't have a lot of experience to replace them with. You don't know if Cam Seldon's going to be fully healthy by the regular season. I mean, I do think there's there's reason for like some like concern, not like, oh my God, this is going to sink the season type deal, but yeah, how good is the running game going to be? Is it going to be as good as last season? Do they need to go get a guy from the portal? I think they probably should. They don't have a lot of returning carries. I mean, it's like Khalifa Keith had about 11 carries, and that's the only person behind Sampson that has any collegiate carries at this point. So I think it might be wise to take a look around the portal and see if somebody fits your system, fits your culture. If they do, I I think it's probably a good thing to try to add them to the roster.
I would definitely agree there. Sampson is a dog. I think
Yeah,
there's no concern there. But just losing that two-headed monster that you had and then had Sampson in addition to them, I mean, that's a powerful running back room.
keeps everybody
And
fresh too.
exactly. And 2/3 of that is gone now. A very real concern, for sure, along with the depth of the offensive line and a few other things on this team. But kind of discussions for a little close to the season, probably when we get a better idea because of the factors like you're bringing up there. Do they get a guy out of the transfer portal? Very real possibility there. I mean, have we heard any rumblings that they're doing that? No, not necessarily, but it just makes sense. There's a few spots on this team where something like that could make sense. And I hope they do make those moves. And obviously now the portal is actually open. Time for the Wild West to sort of begin here. And
And there is a son of a former Tennessee player that happens to be running back that entered the transfer portal, Dallin Hayden. So we'll,
hello, somebody.
maybe,
Come on down here.
yeah.
Love Aaron Hayden, one of the greats, and still a great dude, and would love to have his son in orange and white because you've missed on all of them so far. Please come down here. Have you seen any smoke around that? I don't.
Not really, but it's really just now kind of getting going. The portal just
True.
officially opened this morning. It runs through April 30th, and you don't have to. There's really no rush at this point. I mean, you want to go wherever you want to go, of course, but spring practice is over. You're not gonna. You can be in meetings, whatever they do in the off season, lifting, but you can't get really into the offense onto the field until late July, early August. So it's not as rushed as it is in the wintertime, I don't think, for everybody.
No doubt about it. So, now I won't open up any more cans of worms there. Anything else with football before we move on to talk about everything that happened with the transfer portal with Tennessee basketball too? We got to get to that.
I think we quickly learned that 5-star guys, like legit 5-star guys, high end 4-star guys that probably could be 5 stars, like they just look different immediately. And I remember, I guess it was Ramon Foster we had on back last fall at one point, was telling us about Eric Berry and how they just knew, like from the moment that he walked in, that he was different, that he was going to be a dude. It feels like Boo Carter, Mike Matthews, Braylon Staley, like those are those types of guys, especially Boo Carter, especially Mike Matthews. I mean, it's like they've showed up, and not only are they talented, but the work ethic is there. I mean, everything we've heard is these guys are like front and center in every drill. They want to do it. They want to do it right. Rodney, not Rodney. It was Mike Eckler said I don't care if Boo's playing in front of 100,000 people or 5 people. He's the same guy, and I love that because that's the competitiveness that you have to 5-star talent's not going to take you to a championship. You got to be a competitor, and it really feels like they got some of those dogs, and they happen to be 5-star guys. So that's fun to see. Need more of them. Definitely need more of them, especially some of these positions where they're a bit thin. But that's how you build championship teams. That's what Georgia's done. They've just collected that type of talent. Now, you got to go match them somehow. You got to find a way. And Tennessee's starting to do that. They've still got a ways to go. I don't know if they'll ever catch them. Who knows? But they got to try to.
We've said it so much when it comes to those recruiting discussions. The under the radar 3-star guys, some of them have paid off in a very serious way and have been really great for you. But at the end of the day, the truth remains those elite dudes are how you win championships.
Yeah.
Period. That is just the way that it is. Look at the teams that have won titles. That's the way that it is. I don't know necessarily another way to frame it. Michigan did it this past year. Georgia's been doing it for years at this point. Alabama with Saban has always done that. And so you got to just be there. The NIL helps For sure, and it levels that playing field at least a little bit with siphoning guys off of Georgia and Alabama and all these things, especially now with Saban gone. But it still remains that that's the way you win. The proof is right there, like you said. I mean, Mike Matthews, man, he looks like the real deal, and it's Nico looks like the real deal. You can just see it. So hopefully they start getting more of those guys. Would be really nice. Okay. Now, some not so great news. So you lost Elijah Herring in the transfer portal and football, and then some really not great news with basketball. Awaka, Adu, both hitting the transfer portal. Let's talk about it, Zach, right after I tell you about Zen Sports. We've been talking about them all season long. They're the new sports betting app exclusively in Tennessee. And when you sign up for a Zen Sports account, receive up to a $1,000 no danger first wager when you place your first bet in Zen Sports. You can be reimbursed for the amount of your bet up to a $1,000 maximum if that bet loses. But there's even more good news. Zen Sports is rolling out its brand new VIP rewards program. This new VIP rewards program will allow top-tier customers to earn more bonuses, comps, and perks. VIP program is by invite only, so if you feel your Zen Sports play qualifies for VIP consideration, check out the program details at zensports.com/VIP. No other sportsbook will offer you a premier sports betting experience with 24/7 top-tier customer support, faster withdrawals like Zen Sports. What are you waiting for? Get going and download their app at zensports.com today. Zen Sports betting just got better. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older in Tennessee to bet. That is Zen Sports. Big thanks to them. So you got a transfer in, and we'll talk about this in just a second. Darlin Stone Dubar, which, what a name. Transfer into Tennessee. But that came after you had Tobe Awaka and Jonas Adu hit the transfer portal or have the intention to hit the transfer, whatever it is. And Adu, I would say I expected that one a little bit. He got benched in that Elite Eight game against Purdue for JP Estrella. And you can just look at that situation and say, that's tough, but you got benched for a freshman, man. Like, that can't happen. And that's, I think the official line out of the team was, he was sick. He was getting pushed around all season long. That was not. Now, against teams that didn't have strong big men, hey, he really had his moments and he could really be a strong player. But it was just, I'm not sure it was ever really going to be there in Rick's system with Adu. Maybe it would, if he could have really developed a mid-range shot, it could have been there where you could have had him as a guy that draws out the defense and can help in that way. That would have been something. Not sure that was ever really going to develop. At least it didn't develop over the course of this season. In fact, near the end of the season, I almost felt like it got worse for whatever reason. Jason says here, good riddance day. I don't know if I feel this strongly. He said, dude was soft and hard to watch, but would have liked to keep Awaka. Awaka was surprising to me because I felt like he really had a spot carved out for him next season. And maybe this was just an NIL thing where does St. John's come calling? I don't know. I haven't seen any updates on his situation because he's New York guy. I'm not sure there, but that was surprising. What did you think of those transfers out, Zach?
Yeah, the Adu, that wasn't super surprising really at all, just because the points you laid out, it just didn't seem clearly you needed more. You get more from that position and you beat Purdue. Like, it's that simple. And with Awaka, I mean, there's kind of some rumblings out there that maybe a return's not off the table, because I think he went in the portal before Adu. So I think the feeling there is like maybe Adu's out and it's like, okay, well, I'll have a little more of an opportunity than I would have before. So that's something to watch. Maybe I'm not saying it is going to happen. I don't know. I just know that that's something that's kind of out there. So, maybe the door's not completely closed on Awaka coming back. That'd certainly be nice to have him return, especially with everything you're losing. And then, the other two guys definitely weren't surprising at all. Freddie DeLeone and DJ
Yeah.
Jefferson. Not shocking on either aspect there. I mean, that's just kind of college basketball, really. You're rebuilding your whole entire team every single offseason. I mean, you got like a couple of core guys that are going to stick around. You know, Zakai Ziegler is going to be the heartbeat of this team, and then you got to go out and get a scorer to replace Dalton Connect, which maybe they did with the Dubar from Hofstra, who keeps the alliterative theme going with Zakai Ziegler and Josiah Jordan James. But I mean, it's tough. I mean, that's the reason this Rick Barnes stuff. You think about when will he retire? I mean, right now he's energized, but I think at some point, I mean, April used to come and you're a college basketball coach. You used to be able to chill out a bit. Like the tournament's over, let's kind of recharge, get back through the summer and really hit the ground running. And it just never really stops at this point. It's such a year-round job. How long can you keep that up? How long can Rick Barnes keep that up? How long will he decide he wants to keep it up? And I think I said it before, it wouldn't shock me if when he does eventually retire, it's later in the summer and the fall, just because of the way Dean Smith went out at UNC back when Rick Barnes was still in the ACC. I think that's something he's always kind of carried with him. So I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of takes that approach. Like, how do I feel when I get to August and September? But otherwise, I mean, it's kind of what we expected, that there was going to be some shuffling around. I'd be interested to see what they do though at the center position, because you got to figure something out. I feel like you've got to go get somebody, right? I mean, you feel the same way?
I do. And I hope they either you get a Waka back, because otherwise that's a requirement. You have to have more. I mean, you have Kate Phillips and JP Estrella, but that's not a duo that's
and at this point you can't
basketball.
Well, you can't go into the season like, it's such a weird thing. You don't really I mean, you develop guys, but not the same way over the course of 4 years to be a star by the time they're a senior type deal. I mean, somebody else goes and develops them essentially at this point, and you got to get somebody that's like ready to go. Like you're not going to get another Dalton Connect, but you got to get somebody that's ready to come into your system and start being a dude from day one, not learning to be a dude. It's such a weird kind of like the whole approach of college basketball is so different from when we were growing up watching it. And it's the product that we got now, and it's fine. It's what we have, but it is, yeah, you gotta go find the guy. You can't just wait on one of those guys. You can't wait to see if Estrella is going to be able to carry you as a big man. You just can't.
Dubar averaged almost 18 points at Hofstra, and then
good shooter too.
Yes, close to 40% from three, and like 7 or 8 rebounds per game too. Really nice line. You're not going to recreate that Dalton Connect magic, because that's lightning in a bottle, man.
Yeah, those dudes don't come along often.
No, we said it all season long. Rick and his coaches didn't know that Dalton Connect was going to be that good. They didn't. They straight up did not know he was going to be that good. And that was obvious all season long, and they just kind of went with it after they realized what they had on their hands. But I think you're hoping to get a pretty serious score there. I think if Awaka stays away and goes, center is a requirement. Even if he does come back, maybe a power forward, something like that still. I would look for. I am excited about Estrella. I think Estrella's got some serious potential, and could be a really fun player. But you just gotta batten down the hatches really, and bring in as much as you can, and try to fortify every position. You're losing all of that senior leadership. You still got Sky, of course. But I think you thought, at least I don't know, maybe the coaches knew that it was happening. I think everybody thought a walk-up at least was coming back, and now it's going to be a pretty different look overall. Yeah, DeLeone, I guess I didn't even mention them up top there. You did, but DeLeone, Jefferson, they're just guys that were really never going to carve out that spot on this team for whatever reason. It seemed like Jefferson just didn't fit with what Rick wanted. So
he played a little, like one game, very briefly early in the season,
almost nothing.
Never saw him again.
Yeah, that was kind of a strange situation all the way around. But Now there are serious holes on this roster. We don't know exactly where they're gonna go. But I think and Jason mentioned Carr. Cam Carr is
Oh
gonna be
yeah.
a dude for you. He will absolutely be a dude for you. That you just haven't seen even fully blossom yet. But even this season he came in and hit some really big shots for you. So the potential is there for this basketball team to just go ahead and reload. But it is going to take some help out of the transfer portal. Period. I don't think there's any question about that. And it just is what it is. As you said, it's the way of the world now in football and basketball. That is just how it's going to go with NIL and the transfer portal and all of that. The ability for these players to shift around the way that they can now. You're just going to have to deal with it. I'll be very interested to see exactly where they go, and obviously we'll talk about it as it comes. Now, staying in basketball, we're going to talk a little bit about the women's hire too, because that happened in the meantime too. I forgot to mention that up top.
Yeah.
Because it was a while ago. That was April 1st when they announced the firing of Kelly, and then the hire has been made in the meantime while I was on my trip to Canada. But first, to stay in men's basketball, your biggest rival in basketball got a new coach. Out of the blue, although realistically, it really wasn't out of the blue. The Calipari jumps to Arkansas. And that entire situation is really funny to me. Obviously, because they lose Calipari, and then everybody in Kentucky's fan base is thinking, oh, let's go get Dan Hurley. Give Dan Hurley back to Brink's truck up. Get Dan Hurley. Okay, well, we're not getting Dan Hurley. All right, well, let's go get Scott Drew. Okay, Scott Drew's staying. Let's see who else. Nate Oates. Okay, Nate Oates is not coming. Billy Donovan.